What up, y'all? So we got a little bonus coverage, strictly for the homies. I was on with the homie Sterling Savage on his page, talking about sports, and then we got on a topic that's very sensitive and near and dear to my heart. One, Mr. Colin Kaepernick, and his homeboy decided was trying to argue with me. So I'm gonna bring his homeboy on so we can argue. But I'm just doing it for the people.
Debate. We're not gonna argue. We're gonna debate. Yeah, he was supposed to come on earlier, man, but he said he had some things he had to do. So
we'll get him on. He good.
Yeah,
we'll get him on,
I
man.
sent the link, so he should be on in a second.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience for those who don't know who you are, man.
How y'all doing? My name is Sterling Savage. I have a Facebook Live show called Ahead of the Curve Sports, normally with Corey Shaw, but he's taking a little hiatus right now. So I decided to bring my dog Rajon Lewis on.
You already know.
Jason Abraham. There you go.
Yeah, what's up,
Jason
man?
Abraham meet Rajon Lewis. Rajon Lewis meet Jason Abraham.
What's up, brother?
Both of y'all are two of my good friends.
Yeah, no, I would never claim to be a big Kaepernick fan as a football player.
I am.
I see you got your 49ers hat on, so I can tell you're a true fan, and I stand true. I'm talking about Eagles. I'm a big Eagles fan.
I see that.
But I will have to say this: two things. One was you made a comment that he hasn't been doing any camps, but we don't really know that.
We do know. We know.
And the reason we would not know that is why would Kaepernick trust the media to put his message out appropriately?
Because he puts his other messages out there. He puts out the 10-point. I know my rights campaign.
His messages have been watered down.
And I know my rights campaign was watered down.
All right. We're talking about him campaigning to go back into the league. I'm not talking about the stuff that he does for the community. I'm talking about him to campaign to go back into the league. That farce that they put on, where they're going to make the rules and stipulations and change them as he's trying to show what he can do. That was a complete farce. He looked like he was the bad guy, like he was being difficult. And that's often how the message is when we try to get in and do something and we follow their rules. They change the rules again. And then when we don't want to participate anymore, it's because we didn't try hard enough. So they always put a higher standard on Kaepernick that they would not put on another player.
All right. Let me ask you this.
And we're not talking about a player who's coming out of college, who doesn't have. We're talking about a player who's gone to the Super Bowl. And you give him the stipulations that we're going to try you out on a field that is not NFL ready.
No, but hold on, wait. But that's the thing. He wanted to go to a field that was not NFL ready. They had an NFL field for him. He wanted to go to a high school.
And what was the stipulations if he went to the NFL field? What were they stipulating? Because Cap wanted to do it at first. There was a reason why he did not want to do it after that.
Okay, what was that reason?
He was very clear in saying that they're changing the rules on me. They're making it seem like I don't want to play. He did. I watched the interview. He said they're making it seem like I don't want to play, and my message.
You heard Colin Kaepernick say that?
Huh?
You heard Colin Kaepernick say that?
I heard Colin Kaepernick when he.
Colin Kaepernick not done an interview. He has not done an interview.
Not an interview. I call it an interview. When he's coming off the field, after he did that, he gave a statement and made a statement on why he felt this was a sham. It was a sham. You think that was fair? I'm gonna ask you a question, just and be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Yeah. Right? I'll be honest.
I'm
always honest.
If Drew Brees, and we're gonna use him as the icon right now, because he about as white as you can get in the NFL.
40-year-old Drew Brees, yeah.
Drew Brees, if he's the age of Kaepernick,
okay,
and he does something, let's say he makes these statements right here, and the team cuts him.
Okay.
And then he gets blackballed because none of the teams want to take a chance with him, which I don't know any white players that's been blackballed. Only black players get blackballed. But let's just say they blackballed. Are you telling me that they're going to make the same criteria for Drew Brees to get back in the league that they made for Kaepernick? And this is a league that has admitted that they blackballed him. An executive I saw that article in ESPN. It was also on CNN that former NFL executive admitted that teams blackballed him because he was bad for business. So I'm just thinking, as me, if my message is so watered down like that, why I want to play that way now? Why would
that's the thing. But that's the thing. But see, the problem is you can't make both arguments. You can't make the argument that the rules are messed up and he shouldn't play for them, and that he wanted to play for them. You can't make both arguments. You can't make both arguments.
He wanted to play. So you telling me he didn't go try out for the Ravens? He didn't try out for the Ravens.
He did not try out for the Ravens.
Huh?
He did not try out for the Ravens.
He
did not try out for the Ravens. That's not true.
Okay, so then they lying then.
No, he talked to the Ravens. He talked to the Ravens.
No, they were going to bring him in. The Ravens were going to bring him in.
Dude, come on, man.
The Ravens were going to bring him in. The Ravens were ready to sign him.
Right, but he did not try out for them.
Without him doing any work, they're going to sign
some Django.
His girlfriend, Nessa. Thank you.
His girlfriend posted something like that. And then so the Ravens were turned off.
But you're saying
they were turned off from it. So now I don't know if he knew about Vanessa posting that or Nessa posting that or not. But I firmly believe that he could have been signed by the Ravens.
He would have been signed by the Ravens. Right. He would have been signed by the Ravens.
And I agree.
If that didn't happen,
I'm not arguing.
If that didn't happen, I don't know if he knew about what his girlfriend posted or not.
So he knew.
But that ultimately affected his pretty much his opportunity with the Ravens. I don't think any other team really seriously considered signing him. But I think that the Ravens,
the Seahawks did
until that.
The Seahawks did, and the Broncos thought about it as well.
So what you're telling me is that these teams thought about a player.
Yeah.
I want you that because I don't even know how you can keep a straight face. They thought
I can keep a straight face because I'm serious.
But they didn't try him out. They didn't see if he could still do something. Come on, man. You believe that story?
Because it wasn't. No, that's the thing. But see, again, you missed.
Bring in a player and
I'll
not
let you talk.
have him try out, and then
I'll let you talk.
sign him. I'll
let you talk.
I don't believe he was ever going to sign.
Then once you're done, then I'll talk because that's how debate
works. Can you answer that question? That makes sense to you?
Colin Kaepernick didn't need a trial for anybody.
Colin
Kaepernick didn't need a trial for anybody. The problem never was Colin Kaepernick trying out. The point I never made the point. Let me finish, Jason. The point that I originally made was never that Colin Kaepernick was not good enough to play football in the NFL. My point was that Colin Kaepernick was more interested in becoming a martyr than he was an NFL player.
How do you know what his heart is?
Because
what they do to us, and you're trying to tell me because they give you that message, that's what that is.
So you tell me I'm debating this guy? I'm debating this guy, Seth.
The 49ers doesn't mean I don't have an opinion. This is what I have a valid opinion about him.
This is what I think. I think that Colin Kaepernick was trying to prove a point.
He absolutely was.
I do want to play football.
He absolutely
was. I
was.
want y'all to admit that y'all are racist and bigoted.
He absolutely was. He absolutely was.
And so what's wrong with that?
About these owners, they don't like being told what to do.
And so
Colin Kaepernick is saying, look, I want to come try out for you, but this is the only way I'm going to do it. This is the only way I'm going to do it. And once you get to a certain level where you have a certain amount of money, and when you're a certain type of person, you're not going to be told how to run your business.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be told you're going to sign me because I'm an available player. You get what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely,
they will do that to spite you. I will go sign a player that's lesser talent.
Yep.
That will do what I tell them to do.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that side is right.
It's not that it's right at all. But what you're saying is absolutely true.
You're saying that that's a fact. You know that.
I'm telling
you his heart.
Based on the so you know his heart. So you know his heart then.
No, I don't. I don't know his mind.
So we're both starting.
You're making the statement that he had a certain intention to try out and had certain criteria, but you don't have no proof that that's true. That's the narrative that they put out about him, that he's difficult to begin with.
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm saying what I believe, what I think to be true, based on all the information that I have, what I believe to be true. I don't have any hardcore proof of anything.
And I think to be true, that that's bullshit. That you're telling me that $1 billion team is going to bring a player in and not test to see if he can still play, because
Colin Kaepernick did not try out for the Ravens.
For a year. So the Ravens were going to bring him in and not have tried him out any?
Oh my God,
They
dude!
just gonna go
It's
by his
documented
word?
that,
They
that he's not
didn't
trying
bring
for the
him
Ravens.
I'm
It's
not saying-
documented.
They didn't
I'm
bring
not
him in.
saying-
No, they
What
were
are you-
going to bring.
Can
No,
I
Jason,
finish?
they were
You're
going
not-
to bring
you're-
him
you're-
in until his
you're
girlfriend
twist-
posted that. Then they
You
didn't
just
bring him
said.
in.
You
That's
just
not what I
said.
said.
You just
That's not
said
what I
a
said.
$1 billion
That's
team
not-
is not going to bring in a player and try him
That's
out.
not- you're missing my point. Because
just-
you
you-
believe
I'm
what
using
you
the
believe, but
words
you're
you
not gonna
used.
listen to my point. I'm saying that they was never going to sign him
Oh, okay.
because they didn't try him out. Why would they sign him? They're going to give a contract to a dude and not try him out? They was never going to sign Kaepernick. That's all
So,
bullshit.
Again, you
They
just
telling
went
that.
against your own argument again.
I did not go against my argument.
That's the
I'm
third
telling
time you've done it.
that he did not try out then.
You got to
But
get
you
better
tell
at
me He
this.
didn't try out. So I'm
You
wrong.
got to get better
he
at
didn't
this.
try out. I'm wrong.
No, he. You're right. He did not try
He
out.
didn't try
but
out.
you're telling
They
me
were
they was
going to
gonna sign
extend
him. How was they going to sign him?
They were gonna-
Like,
they were
what
gonna
time
offer
period
him
were
a
they gonna
contract.
sign him?
They were going to see him work out first, and then they were going to sign him. From
And
what they
then-
said, I don't know if they were going to do it. That's what
Exactly.
they said.
And that's
my
when
point.
Nessa-
We don't know that they were going to do it. That was
And
my
that's
point.
when
And
Nessa-
they said- no. Well, we don't know. None of us know because none of us work in NFL front office. So
None of us.
really know.
None of us
We
do.
can
No.
just-
None of
can
us
just
And we
do.
don't
read
know what
reports of
goes
what-
on in a
of
man's
what's supposedly
relationship
happened.
either. My wife
Huh?
could post anything right now
Yep.
and say that I signed up for it.
Well, I hope
she's
your wife
angry
doesn't do
I've
that.
been mistreated, and she says, "You know what? I ain't gonna." We
What?
know women. If they sticking up for their man, they're not gonna listen to you.
No, my
We
wife
don't
is
know
not
what she
gonna.
did.
My wife's not gonna make a racist post on
So
Facebook in my defense.
Jason, let me ask you this. So what you're saying is that no matter what anybody says, no team was ever going to give Cap a workout or ever sign him regardless. That's what you're saying.
We got that. We got that answer, did we not, earlier this week? We didn't get that answer from the NFL, former NFL executive who told you no, the hell he wasn't. They was never gonna sign him, ever. Why do we need? Why is this so hard for you to believe? They put a knee
Why
on
is
the
this
neck
hard
of
to
a man
believe?
for 8.5 minutes, and we still need.
Oh,
proof?
I'm Jason. I'm not
Like,
saying
why
that
is
you're
that so
wrong.
hard to
I'm not saying
believe?
that I'm not saying.
Can I run out of this?
I'm not saying that. I know that the NFL pretty much made a decision as a league and
They
said
made a
no
decision.
one's
Sean.
going to sign this man. I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe because they said we need to protect our shield. We cannot let one person be bigger than our shield, especially him who's going against the grain. I
Yeah.
believe that.
Mm.
I do believe that.
I'm gonna go back to my original
Because
point.
now you have
Yeah.
GMs coming out saying it was wrong. We should have signed Cap. We should have done this. We should have done. So I believe that.
Right.
I honestly believe that they made a decision as a league, as an organization. No one's going to sign them.
Yeah,
Now, you
and
can
they're paying
do
a lot of money for
tryouts.
that.
You
Yeah.
can do
And
that.
that was my only point was when I was telling you about, you were saying I was making 2 points. I was never saying that Kaepernick tried out. I was being sarcastic saying then he tried out, because I just don't know of a team that's going to tell me that they're going to definitely sign a person but never work them out. They're going to have to work them out to see, can you still walk? Can you still run? Do you have an injury? They do that for players that are traded. to them.
But
You can
guess
cancel a
what
trade
though,
because of that.
Jason, guess what though? But guess what? The workout was secondary.
Yes.
It was.
You know what?
I'm-
The first thing they asked him was, "Are you going to continue to kneel?"
And then he said no.
They said, "Are you going to keep kneeling? We don't care
That's
if
what
you
they
can
asked
throw
him.
or not. Are
That's
you
what they
gonna
asked him.
keep kneeling?" That
That's
was
what
the
they
first
asked him.
part of the interview.
That's what they asked him.
That was the first part, and he
So,
continued to say,
can I
"Yes,
ask you a
I am
question?
going
So
to kneel."
that equates because
He said he wasn't going to kneel.
because he has a moral boundary. That means that he doesn't want to play football anymore.
No, that's not what I said at all. Again, if
I'm
you were
asking
listening,
that
if you
was a
listen to
question.
anything that I said, you'd have heard my point a long time ago. The problem
You
is you
said
keep
he
yelling
was
over.
more-
Again,
you
once
said he
again, you're
was
telling
more-
me what I said when
You
you're
said he
not
was
actually
more
listening to what I'm saying, and
You
you're
said he
talking
was
again while I'm talking.
You said
That's
he
not a
was
good way to
more
have a
interested in
conversation.
being a martyr. Did you not say
Sterling,
that?
you still teach elementary school?
Did you say that?
Sterling,
Did you
do you
say
still
that?
teach elementary school?
Did you say that?
Ah.
I'm
Sterling.
asking you a
Yo,
question.
wow.
Well,
Sterling.
I'm the student. Can the
Sterling.
teacher answer my question?
Hold on. Excuse me, sir.
Did you say that?
Sterling, do you still teach elementary school?
Yeah, I was.
Did you
wild.
say that?
Hey, this
Hey,
has been
Sterling.
a lot more entertaining than I thought it was going to be.
Hey, Sterling,
Did
It's
you
been a lot
say
more
that?
entertaining than I
Hey,
thought it was gonna
Sterling.
be.
do you
Did
teach?
you say that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, excuse me, 1 second, Mr. Abraham, sir.
He's
1 second,
answered your
please.
question.
I'm asking.
He's answered
I'm
your
asking
question.
Mr. Savage a
He's
question.
answered your question.
Mr. Savage, sir,
I
do
want
you
you to
still
answer my
teach elementary
question.
school?
I
Sir,
am
Answer my
currently
question.
I
you
am
say that?
currently a
I'm
guidance
listening.
counselor,
The guidance
but I
counselor
do work with children.
and elementary school. So if you have students that come into your guidance counselor office, and one person starts talking, and the other person immediately starts talking
Oh,
after
like you
that
did
person
when I was
starts
talking.
talking, Mr. Savage, what would you tell those students? I'll wait, Mr.
I'm
Savage.
sorry, Sterling. I don't have a microphone in front of me or headphones to look more official.
Mr. Savage.
So I know, and I'm not going to do the Stephen
Mr.
A. thing.
Savage.
I'm
Well,
not
what?
going to
Mr.
do the
Savage.
Stephen A.
listen,
thing
all right,
where you slow down
so,
and get
so,
more quiet when you talk.
so
I ain't going to do
Abraham,
that either. I'm going to stay as passionate.
Abraham, what was your question for Ray
My
Sean? What was your
question was, did you not, when I first got on, he
Oh
said,
my
and you
gosh.
both said this, he was more interested in being a martyr than he
Mhm.
was playing football. That's my
Okay.
only question. Did you say
Okay.
that?
No, that Ray Sean said that. The original question was, I said, no, listen, this was the
No,
original,
go
I
ahead.
think it was before you got on, Abraham. It was before you got on.
Go ahead.
The original question
Watch
was,
this.
now with everything going on with George Floyd and with the country being in the state that it is now, with the NFL issuing a statement and now with other GMs coming out saying we were wrong, Colin Kaepernick was right, the police brutality has to end. You know what I'm saying? Black Lives Matter. We were wrong for blackballing Cap. They pretty much admitted we were wrong for blackballing Cap. I said, do you think that Colin Kaepernick will get a job now moving forward? That's what I said. And then Ray Sean said, I don't think that Cap wants to play football now. He said, I think he's more interested in being a martyr now. And I said,
Yep.
okay. And I said, do you think that he's going to get the opportunity? Do you think that a team is going to extend the opportunity to him? He said, yes, but I don't think that he wants to play.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
So I did not hear the now part.
Yeah, I know.
You say
Yeah,
that
you
he
logged.
was
No, you
more
logged in
interested.
after. That.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know,
didn't
because
hear
you
the now
started
part.
yelling at me.
So I'm not. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
yelling because your voices are so loud, and this is how I talk.
I'm
This is
sorry,
how I
man.
talk.
I haven't seen your movies, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is how I
I'm
talk.
sorry.
This is how I talk.
I have not seen
movie?
Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
I have not seen
So this is how I
Deep
talk.
Blue Sea.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry.
I might not be as official, but like I said, and I'll stick to my point, is that why would he be interested in playing for them now anyway?
Oh man, you're fun.
Why would he be interested?
I don't
That's
think
the
he would be
question.
interested now. That's the thing. That's the point that I was making earlier. Is that right now, Colin Kaepernick is talked about in the annals of Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's talked about as far as the greats when it comes to social activism. He's not considered. I mean, even if he never plays another down, there will still be people who remember that 2013, 2014 year, including myself, in 2012, 2013 year, including myself, where the entire nation was like, yo, this guy is a beast. And then after that, he made a couple of missteps that really hurt him. The first misstep that he made is he opted out of a $16 million contract. He had $16 million guaranteed to come to him. All he had to do was stay on the team, and he was going to start. They weren't going to bench him. He left that team to leverage his. He thought that he'd be able to leverage his status into a larger contract based on what he had shown. But he was coming off that shoulder injury, and he had a really bad year that previous year. I remember this because, again, I am a Niners fan. I've watched every snap of Colin Kaepernick's career. So I know what this man can do on the field. I didn't watch football for 2 years. Ask my wife, ask my kids. On Sundays, I was watching Snapped on the marathon. I was watching everything else, Law and Order, NCIS, CSI. I was watching everything I could to not have to watch football. I wasn't watching it. So I was invested in this. I'm not somebody who caught on to Kaepernick later. I was on the original Cap boat. I was kissing my biceps after we scored a touchdown. That was called Kaepernicking. That was called Kaepernicking.
No offense, but I would expect that from you. I owned a Wentz jersey before he was even named the starter.
Right. So you get
I
it.
got my Wentz jersey.
Like I was there, so I couldn't tell you. So I couldn't come tell you about Carson Wentz.
No,
I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't. Let me tell you about Carson Wentz. I don't know more about Carson Wentz than you do.
Wait, brother. When we started this conversation,
yeah,
I admitted that to you.
Yeah,
I admitted that to you. But what But what I didn't hear was the word now. That's number one. I didn't hear the word now. And
Yeah.
number two, I still will stand by that. Even at that time, there was never going to. I never believed the team was going to sign him. And even now, I still don't think a team will sign him. I don't think things change that quickly. I think they'll tell us that.
They're going to
because
offer him a
they tell us
contract.
that during when it's heated. But when it gets time to do it, they're not going to give him a contract.
I personally don't agree with that. I think that they, in order to save face, the NFL is going to offer him.
They're going to offer him a
Somebody's
contract.
going to reach out. Like it doesn't mean it's going to be a starter. He may be the third string quarterback. He may be on the practice squad, but somebody is going to offer him a contract because the NFL does not want to be. It's like everybody knew that. Everybody knew he was blackballed. Everybody knew he was.
Everybody knew that. It was not a secret.
With the way the world is now after this George Floyd incident, bro, they're gonna try to get ahead of it because if they don't go ahead and extend that olive branch to Cap, guess what? I ain't talked in 3 or 4 years, but guess what? Now's a chance for me to do an interview if I'm Colin Kaepernick and say this is what I was trying to tell them for 4 years. Now he can metaphorically kill the league and say, you see, they blackballed me.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
Can if he wants to. He can if he wants to.
That's why they're not going to give him a contract.
But see,
for that very reason.
So I talked about the first misstep, right? The first misstep was opting out of that contract. I think the second misstep that Colin Kaepernick had was he refused to speak for himself. He refused to speak for himself. He let his people speak for him. He let Nessa speak for him. He let his friends speak for him. But Colin Kaepernick, in an age where we can control, like we talk about controlling the message. Shoot, right now we ain't nobody. I mean, y'all are somebody, everybody's somebody, but we ain't nobody important like that, right? We can get on here right now and pull people onto this thing, and they'll listen to what we got to say. You mean to tell me Colin Kaepernick don't got camera on his phone that he can get on here and say, "Hey guys, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm experiencing, and I want y'all to know that I'm doing everything I can every day to get back into the league so I can play football. And these people are keeping me out of the league." Who can control that?
Yeah, they can't. But
no. I agree with you. The way that Kaepernick did it, he chose to do it that way.
I think that's what I was going to say. Do you think that maybe Cap did not? The reason that he didn't do that was because I believe Cap was still hopeful. I believe that Cap thought if I put that message out, it's already a lot of pressure with me kneeling. But when I start talking and they put those words to my black face,
what message do you think he was trying to put out? You said he thinks if I put this message out, what message about black lives matter?
What he was just saying that Cap, what he was saying that Cap could have said, saying that look what they're doing to me. I think that Cap didn't want to do, and part of that I think Cap wanted to, but I think the people around him, which lends a point to what you were saying earlier about Cap. The people around him, I think, were saying, "Hey, dude, if we do it this way, they're definitely not gonna let you in. Let's just try to keep the message trickling out the way." That's what I believe.
But I hear what you're saying. But and I don't know if you need to talk, Rajon. But also, you gotta think about it like this too. Look at Carmelo Anthony, because it's not. They're not comparable by any stretch. As opposed to the one thing I'm going to say. Carmelo Anthony could not get a job.
Right.
He went on First Take and pretty much told Stephen A, bruh, nobody's calling me back. He pretty much went on national TV and begged the NBA for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much said, I can still play. Teams are not calling
Nobody's calling me.
And
yep.
and he pretty much had Stephen A go to bat for him and said, why isn't this brother signed? And then he got signed. So it could be a pride thing with Cap too. Like, nah, y'all gonna call me because I'm good enough to play, and if you don't call me, it's because you blackballing me, which is true. You're right, Cap. But guess what?
You gotta say it.
This is a business.
Yeah.
And if they don't want you in it, then you're not gonna be in it unless you do what they ask you to do. Is that right? No. But guess what? You're right. But they didn't give you a job in the NFL.
All right. So here's where the difference I think is different between the NBA and the NFL. The NBA has a track record of handling racists and taking their teams from them. But we know the NFL is reluctant to do that. You got the Texans owner, you got Jerry Jones, who lets it slide. He says it, but he doesn't really say it. He says it all.
Jerry Jones
He's
gets away
part
with
of
a
that
lot, bro.
echelon. There's no precedence that the NFL would take that stance. But in the
Mhm.
NBA, we know that they'll take that stance. The face of the NBA is who right now? Pick three
LeBron
people.
James.
Right. Well, me and you, brother, we 100% on that. I'm a big LeBron. LeBron is the face. Who's the face of the NFL?
Tom
Exactly.
Brady.
Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell.
Exactly. Huh?
Roger Goodell.
Roger
The
Goodell.
Chiefs.
And pick
There's
a
no
player.
one player that's bigger.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
than
So
Turn on
yeah,
Sports
it's Tom
Center.
Brady. I
If
hate
they're talking
Tom
about NFL, they're
Brady,
talking
but
about Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady.
And so the dynamics of the NBA and the NFL are very different. I'm not saying that Cap would have behaved differently if he were an NBA player, but I truly believe that kneeling basketball players will not cause as much alarm as a kneeling football player.
Mhm.
It's a little bit different.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree
Because
that I believe that the NBA is more progressive than the NFL.
they're more
I
progressive. But
100% believe.
when we
I
think
believe
of
that.
basketball, and I'm asking both you brothers, I mean, I could be wrong in this, but like black basketball is kind of a sport. They just said, you know what, we admit it's yours. You're not gonna. There progressive things that aren't gonna get people to turn off the station. But
Okay.
people stopped watching hockey for a while when the first black players started to go. They wouldn't go to the games. They boycott. We didn't ever hear about that. They were silently boycotting, not wanting to come to games because there were black players playing hockey. So there's no precedence in those two types of sports. Football, it's more they feel like it's an attack on an American way of living. That's the reason why we have the national anthem. The national anthem hasn't always been played at football games. That was something that the NBA, I mean the NFL and the armed forces got together to try to garner up patriotism.
But also, let me stop you for a second. Also, there was a player that knelt during the national anthem in the NBA. I can't remember his name, but it was years ago. And guess what the NBA did? The NBA put that players had to stand for the national anthem after that.
Yeah.
So like it happened, and but then again, he didn't play anymore after that either. You get what I'm saying? But it was kind of swept under the rug, you know.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I believe the NBA is more progressive in the fact of okay, well, this is an issue. Let's figure out how to work it in and keep the business going. The NFL is more stubborn, you know. And at the end of the day, what I feel like is Cap was like, I'm trying to prove my point. I want you to admit that I'm right, and this is what it is. And the NFL was like, no, we're not going to admit that. This is our league.
Can we piggy that back to something else that I'd like to discuss just with two other black? What do you think in relationship to what you were just saying, the point that you're making? What do you think effect ownership has on the way that sport is received and managed? Because there are more black owners. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Real talkers, is there a black owner or a partial owner in the NFL
of an NFL team?
Yeah.
No.
Right. So there's no, and I thought there wasn't, but I could be
wrong. There's only 3 black coaches.
Right. And that might change because we know Jay-Z has got a partnership with him. So part of that deal may be part ownership. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. But do you think that ownership has a lot to do with the way it's received? Because there are a lot more black owners in the NBA. You got Jordan, you've got Jay-Z with the Nets. I don't know if he sold his interest in the Nets. Does he still own the interest in the Nets?
I think he says he's taking it. I think he says
he had to sell it. No, he had to sell it. He still owns season tickets. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So, but they still have some ownership. What do you think, Real Talkers? Do you think that plays a part in ownership, kind of changes the narrative?
Absolutely. I think representation is important. I think anytime you're talking about decision making and how decision making impacts people of color, you got to look at the people who are making the decisions. And when you don't have people at the top that are making decisions that are representative of the people who the decisions are being made for, you tend to have that kind of reckless abandon when it comes to racist policies and things of that nature. I do think that the NFL is on the verge of having a black owner. I do think Jay-Z is going to be that person. I think Jay-Z is going to be the first black owner in the NFL. I think that's going to be the guy.
I also agree, and I think that just if you just look at the two different leagues and you look at how many black NBA coaches you have, you know, and black NBA execs you have as opposed to the NFL, like that's pretty much like that should let you know right there how different the leagues are. In my
Right.
personal opinion, I feel like in the NFL that the owners pretty much see the players as just assets or property.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
at the end of the day. Now, in the NBA, and people have even said the NBA is more about stars. The NBA knows the players are what drive this league.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you need like the teams that don't have a star player, you're not generating as much revenue as the teams that do have stars.
Facts.
You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So like they know that like the power really lies within the stars and within the players.
Right.
Almost like the power lies.
I agree. Your audio went out, man.
Your audio did go out. Sav. Oh, we hear you now.
My audio went out.
Yeah.
Say that last part again. I didn't hear that last part.
I was just saying that I believe that in the NBA, it's more of like, it's almost like a partnership with the players. I feel like
Right.
I feel like the owners in general respect the players more and understand that, hey, you know, like our franchise would not be where it is without you. Our franchise wouldn't be where it is without the people that came before us. You get what I'm saying? But in the NFL, it's more like, no, I own this, so this is good because of me.
So,
So,
real
like,
talkers,
if I wanna
do
get
you
rid of you, I'm gonna get rid of you.
real talkers? Do you think
My name's
like,
Rajan, man.
John,
Just call me Rajan, man.
Yeah, hey, John.
Hey, I gotta log off. But it was great doing this.
Sav,
with y'all,
what
man.
you
My bad. I
doing?
gotta log off. Listen,
What you doing?
gotta log off, man.
We ain't talked about
Oh,
the most
man.
important stuff.
Hey,
John.
I got you, bro. We'll keep it rolling. I got you, bro.
Hey, John.
I got you. We'll
Check this out. Hey, I did want to put out there. I don't know, if you can get this message out, but like here in the Florence area, me and my wife just participated in the protest yesterday. It was a really
praise
good
God.
experience. Yeah, it was wonderful, man. It was good to see a lot of, I saw America out there. We had Arabs out there who were representing
All right.
Latinos, and I've been thinking, just kind of pushing around, like, what can I do, like, to help? There's got to
Yeah.
be something more than just marching and praying.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of pushing around this idea. I've been making some small, doing some small woodworking here on my back porch.
Yeah.
Been making signs and small lap desks. And I want to start up a Facebook page and start selling my house signs for to use the profit to start getting involved in voter registration.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's one of the things that we really need to like attack, especially in the Black rural areas in South Carolina. We have far too little representation, but we represent a lot when it comes to the dollars we spend.
Absolutely. Yes. See, we just got into a real conversation now. All right, now we cooking now. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about dollars, we talk about the community. This is my wheelhouse. So this is Real Talk with Rajan for those for I'm on my personal page. Normally I'm on my my YouTube page. I'm on my YouTube, but I'm usually on my business page. But Real Talk with Rajan is my show, and I actually bring people on to talk about community topics. And tonight I actually interviewed a young lady who was an organizer with the protest that happened here in the Low Country. So this is what I do. This is what I do. Sav just reached out to me to talk about sports, but he knows what I do. So yeah, but that's really cool. So you were in Florence tonight. So it was a peaceful protest. Was there any police issues? Any
No, you know
like that?
what? I take my hat off. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. The chief of police spoke, and we had a lot of us quieted the crowd down. I said, let him speak. He's got to have a voice too, because that's how we got where we are, is not having a voice. And I'm against like taking the voice from anybody. I don't care what color they are. Everybody should have a right to say what they're feeling. The police were they were mingled in amongst us. Instead of like surrounding us, what I really like what Florence did was the police officers stood amongst us.
Okay.
So, and they had some spotters on some buildings, and I can appreciate that, wanting to protect your economy and protect it from looting. So I felt it was very respectful how they policed us. Because I want the police to police us. That's what we pay them for. Please police us.
Yeah.
It's just the problem we have is the way they police us. It lacks giving us integrity, taking away me and my wife were talking about this, about putting a man in cuffs.
Okay.
And detaining. That's something that I really would like to start questioning our local leaders about, supporting what the policemen do about this word detain.
Mm.
because if you detain someone, and I have a little experience in this, when you
Yes.
live in a homogenous society, I lived in Japan for 8 years,
Okay.
and a little Japanese boy grows up, and all of the representation that he sees around him are people who are Japanese.
Okay.
So anything that would be normal to him, like seeing a person in handcuffs, is 99.9% of the time going to be somebody who's Japanese or looks Asian. Someone who
Okay.
does something really good is going to look the same. So, and that's the kind of positive if you live in a homogenous society and you look like them.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
downside to have what you would consider a false homogenous society, which is America.
Mm-hmm.
It's a false homogenous society. We like to believe that it's homogenous. Our words come out that we're homogenous, the melting pot.
Yeah.
We're really more like gumbo, but we call it the melting pot because everybody kind of maintains their shape like you would in a vegetable soup, or I
Yeah.
don't like to
Yeah.
use the melting pot.
Okay.
So when you take a fake homogenous society that has not just classes, but classes that have been assigned with intent to particular ethnicities, it's different when a black boy watches his dad get put in cuffs, even for a detainment, because
True.
he sees it all the time. And
Yeah.
it's hard for a father to carry the same weight in your family when you've
Mm.
seen him demasculated in public.
True.
And that's what a detainment does. Is it that little boy now, you know the power that your father had as growing up as a black boy. Like
Yeah.
your daddy was the end all.
Yeah.
I never saw my father in cuffs or bow down to anybody.
Mm.
But now when they detain your father, yeah, he might have been innocent and they're gonna let him go in 5 minutes, but the damage is done.
Yeah.
He's demasculated in front of his son and his wife and his family. And that's kind of the history that we've kind of gone through. Is that's the key to the black family, is to demasculate the man and leave the woman vulnerable. That's why we have so many single families that are
True.
women. Think about
True.
in the low country and here in the PD area, many of my students are either being raised by a single mother or a single grandmother.
Yeah.
So that's a profound thing to me, because not only are we looking at an extended family raising them, but we see a pattern there. Both women are single.
Yeah.
Both women, neither woman has a man in their life. Where
Okay.
is the example for him? Where is the example for that boy? And if he does have a father, they probably have been in prison, or he's on the wrong side because he lives in poverty. And we know what people do in poverty. They like to say it's a black thing. It's a poverty thing. People in poverty do those things. If you go to rural Kentucky, people are addicted to meth, just like in the Bronx, they were addicted to crack.
Yeah.
The cheap drug is always going to find its way in any poverty-stricken community. We like to think these things are symptoms of being black. They're symptoms of poverty. And when you redline and gerrymander a specific group into ghettos, like they did the Jewish in the 30s, before World War II, what do you think is going to be the perception of those people around you? And that brainwashing is actually not a reprogramming of their spirit. And I'm going to tell you why I say this, because that's why I believe people can be good. Two things can be true. You can be a good person, but you can have horrible politics. You can be a bad person and do really good things for your community. At the end of World War II, what you won't find in the history book was there was mass suicide across Germany. Massive suicides. People were killing themselves in their bathrooms. They were killing themselves on their carports in their bedrooms. And a lot of that had to do with their guilt. They knew, because this was the game Hitler played. Hitler was able to reprogram people because they were in poverty, because of the stock market crash that affected Germany, and they were going through a very poor time. He seized upon that poverty-stricken mind. And when you're poverty-stricken, you want to eat. You'll believe anything if I can get a meal. So he
Mhm.
went through and he not only he was a great orator, but he built these huge government buildings, which still exist to this day in Germany. And these
Mhm.
big plazas where everybody could come to give them some hope and some pride about Germany. But interwoven in that message was that this was the duty sent to them by God. Now,
Mm.
there was a conflict in the common man, because if I came to you, Juan, and I said that God told you to abandon your family, your first thing to me is probably punch me in my face. And you
Probably.
would be rightfully so. You ain't leaving your family.
Mm-mm.
So imagine your guilt if I could find a way to reprogram you to think that that was really God's message.
Mm.
And when you got to the end of that message and you saw that you were wrong, you'd probably want to kill yourself
Yeah. Yeah.
after what you did to your family. And that was what Germans did. And that's the message that we see, is that we have a whole country of people who love us and a lot of people who accept us, but they've been
Mhm.
programmed to think a certain way about us. They're
Yeah.
good people, but their beliefs are bad. Those two
Mm.
things can be true. So we've got to seize upon the goodness of people, because ultimately, when you sit down with people, Juan, and I lived in that homogenous society in Japan, I'm gonna tell you something that never happened to me with even a black man. I've had people give me stuff on the train to make me feel more comfortable.
Mm.
I had an old Japanese woman give me a handkerchief to wipe my head and then bow to me when I got off the train. So because that representation that they make of us, it is fairy dust. It doesn't,
Mm.
they know it's not real. You can't possibly believe that black people are animals when we find plasma and we create the gas mask and we do the first open heart surgery and we're astronauts. They can't possibly believe that, but they've been brainwashed to believe that. And so what we're seeing now, why there's such a pushback, it's hard to look yourself in the mirror like the Germans couldn't. That's why they
Mhm.
killed themselves.
Mhm.
It's hard for them to look themselves in the mirror and come to the realization that everything I believe is in such a stark contrast to what I say about Jesus.
Mm.
We can't possibly think that Jesus would stand next to Donald Trump.
That's a
We
good
can't
point.
possibly think that. And they can't think it either. They
You
want
you
to believe
cooking?
it. But when they confront that, what you get is a person who drives by with a Confederate flag, or they put a swastika on bricks in your way when you're going to walk in protest. I don't really believe that's their heart. I believe that's what they've been brainwashed to think, because
Yeah.
these are intelligent people.
Yeah.
Many of them are very spiritual and good people, wholesome people.
Yeah.
But it's hard to look yourself in the mirror and accept those things about yourself. And I know
Yes.
this from firsthand because I had very bad like imagery about what I thought about transvestites
Mm.
and using the bathroom. And it took my white wife standing right there. It
How you
took
doing, Miss
her.
Wife?
She taught me something, Juan, that was very humbling for me. We were sitting on the sofa one day, and it was the news. We were getting bombarded with that message that transvestites wanted to use the bathroom. And I remember saying out of my mouth, because I really believed this at that time, Juan. I said, "What are we gonna do when a transvestite goes in the bathroom and my granddaughter got to use the same bathroom as them?" And my wife looked at me and she said something I'll never forget to this day. She said, "Jason, where the hell do you think they've been going to the bathroom until now? They've always been using the bathroom, Juan. They just want to brainwash us to think that that's such an intrusion into their lives because they've been
Mm.
programmed to think that. But if you sit
Mm.
down and talk with a transvestite and befriend one, I can guarantee you it'll be hard to hate them.
I think they go by transgender now.
Transgender, yeah, sorry, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Transgender.
I just want to make sure, point of clarification,
No,
because
no,
we
you're
gotta
right.
we gotta we gotta we gotta do this for each other. But I definitely you made some very, very good points, man. I don't disagree with anything you said. I used to teach history, so I definitely feel you when you talk about the parallels between Nazi Germany and some stuff that we're seeing now. There definitely are some parallels. If you go back and watch some of my shows from a year or two ago, like I was making all of these points. A lot of people didn't want to hear me, but I was making all these points because there's something to what's happening now. There's a very interesting thing that's happening now, and I always go back to, so you use Germany. I always use the civil rights movement, right? So if we go back to pre-segregation, I mean integration, you know, we know that there was a good bit of the country that fought against integration. We know that, you know, 2/3 of the country was diametrically opposed to to integration. However, in 2020, there's nobody that's going to tell you how forced integration, how forced segregation they were. There's not a white person that you're going to run into that's going to tell you, yeah, we remember how great it was when black people had to drink from that water fountain and we got to drink from this water fountain. No white person will tell you that. Right. None will tell you that. Right? They completely forget that. Everybody who agreed with segregation has miraculously disappeared from the face of the earth. It's crazy how that's happened, right? 30 years from now, when people are telling the story of 2016 to 2020, no one will have been Trump supporters. Mark my words. Everybody who's MAGA, they will have mysteriously disappeared from the face of the earth in 2050. I'm telling you.
You are saying the same. And I have I'm not even speaking from what I read. I'm talking about true human experience I had to witness this. I spoke with a German girl when I was living in Germany, and she talked about her parents. She talked about her grandparents, and I asked about her grandparents and like, what did they think about, because Germans are very embarrassed about their history. They're very embarrassed, and they have lots of rules and laws that kind of contradict a democracy, because they want to stay away from that history. Like, you can't do the Heil Hitler sign. That's illegal in Germany. No, you can't meet, and skinheads can't meet and celebrate with swastikas. They just don't allow it. They put them in paddy wagons, make them calm down for 40. I've seen it happen. They put them in paddy wagons and let them calm down for 48 hours. But I remember asking her, I said, well, were your parents a part of that movement? Like, what did they do? And she said, well, my grandfather was, I guess, served in the military. She didn't say he was a Nazi. She didn't use that word. But she said they did not agree with Hitler. And I said under my breath, she's a goddamn lie.
Nobody agreed with Hitler.
Yeah, none of them agreed.
Nobody. I told you.
So who was the supporter?
Nobody supported Hitler. No one supported Hitler.
Right.
No, nobody supported Hitler. Clearly, right? Because you take over a nation because you have no supporters.
Right. So
you win a presidency because you have no supporters.
Right. So I've seen exactly what you're saying. I can't agree with you more. I've actually seen an example of that happen. And when you talk, and I'm gonna give you another example. When you go to Japan, if you stop the average Japanese person who wants to hold on to their history, they will tell you, we never gave Chinese kids poison to see how it would react to them. We never raped their women or kidnapped Koreans and brought them back but Japan had to face it, because while I was there, what happened was a huge scandal. The scandal happened because many Korean families had been looking for their daughters we talking about 30, 40 years. They've been looking for them. These are women who were kidnapped, taken over, and indoctrinated to become Japanese citizens. They were basically raped by Japanese men or Japanese soldiers who had prestige, and they would choose a Korean woman. They would kidnap them, re-indoctrinate them, and take them back to Japan. Japan denied this for decades. But when the truth finally came out and they started to see these women come forth and say, because their families finally told the truth, this is what happened, how you got here, the wool was pulled back. But before then, nobody knew what they were talking about. But now all of a sudden, everybody knew what happened. So you had a whole nation. I can't believe, Juwan, that Japan is a nation of liars. They're just a nation of people in denial. They're not liars. They don't know. It's a part of what the government did. They and you know what they did with people to show? Japan was very clever. This happened to my Japanese ex-wife's grandfather. So at the end of World War II, Japan was extremely poor. They had just expended all their energy trying to control the Pacific. And now they had lost. You know, you had two devastated cities in Nagasaki and Hiroshima that were pretty much, you
Yes.
couldn't grow anything there. And they're a very big agricultural community. So what they did is they sent Japanese people to other countries to quote unquote create lives for themselves until the economy could build itself. But this is what happened to her grandfather. He moved to Central America, and when he arrived in the country in Central America, he found himself, and I've seen the pictures that hang in his house, a barren wasteland. It was basically for him to grow food. It would be impossible. You couldn't grow anything in the land. The land was arid. And so he thought he owned this land. So he began to work it. And his children, which my ex-wife's mother was one of them, they were extremely poor. Now, they were more affluent in Japan because he was a carpenter. He could carve these beautiful Buddha statues, and he carved the molding for like Buddhist temples. He was a very skillful carpenter, but he couldn't do that in Central America. He had to kind of resort to like making life for himself. They ate dog, which for them was very humiliating. He finally moved back, and here's where his lawsuit against the government happened. They told him that he owned that land. He never owned it. The country never agreed to that. Japan lied to them. So he and several, I think there were about 100 other Japanese descendants who sued the government to try to sue them for the wealth that they lost. And you know what he wanted? He didn't want money, because I spoke with this man while he was still alive, and my ex-wife translated. He didn't want money. All he wanted was Japan to admit that they deceived the people. That they lied. That was all he wanted. He died never getting that apology.
Wow.
Yeah, he died never getting it. So I can definitely relate. Like when I speak very spirited about our rights here, and when I give examples, they're not stuff I read in a book. This is like my own like personable research that I did, actually speaking to people and hearing their narrative and their stories. And it's a nation of really good people.
Yeah.
But they have a very poor narrative about Black people because of what they see in movies. So when I got to go into elementary schools, I got to change that narrative. They saw that all Black people didn't own guns, and that all Black people didn't have a mean demeanor about them, and weren't villains or drug dealers or gang members. And through that, I was able to bridge a gap, because I saw it in the community. Because, you know, when I taught in the community, Juan, I was ever present because I was the only Black guy.
Absolutely.
So everybody knew who I was. When I would go to the side store, go for lunch outside of the school, everybody knew who I was. I'm the foreign teacher at that school. And their demeanors change. When I first get to an area, they're very standoffish, gave me very like suspectful looks. But as I taught their children and they had more experience around me, that narrative changed, where they would invite me to eat dinner at their homes, or they would offer to buy my lunch, or they would say hi to me in the street when that's not really a common thing for Japanese people to do. That's not really a part of their cultures to speak. They're very shy or very reserved. And that's what we can do here. We have to reach out to the other side, and we have to understand what narrative they believe. And we have to smash that narrative through having some type of fellowship, because fellowship is the key. The way the kids trust me was during Kyushoku, and Kyushoku is a meal it's what we call school lunch. But Kyushoku is very special in Japan because only Japanese elementary schools serve food. Everyone else brings their lunch from middle school on to high school. And so that's a good fellowship time. And when the kids would ask me questions, are you Black all over? Yeah, that was a question I got.
Are you
Are
Black,
you Black all over? You know why? because in the Japanese culture, kids take baths with their families, and those you probably have seen a room in a movie or something. It's kind of like they shower and the bath are in like a room where you can get the walls wet. They're all made out of tile. And they're a rather large room, and it's a family bathroom. My ex-wife took baths with her father and mother until she was 13. So the reason they would ask me that question was because they had only seen a naked Japanese man. They were so curious about a black man because to them, I'm like an alien. If you've never seen a black man, it is kind of like an alien. I've never seen one, never had an experience. And because the family dynamic is so strong in Japan, in order to change that narrative, I had to share things I would not normally share. No, I'm not black all over. One kid asked me, why are my hands white on the inside, but dark on the backside?
That's interesting. Yeah.
And I grabbed a Japanese student who was a little darker than him and turned his hand over, and the little boy's eyes almost popped out his head. He'd been sitting next to this kid for a whole year and didn't even realize that there was a difference between him and another He thought that everybody looked the same.
Yeah.
That's right in his own community. So if a little Japanese boy in a homogenous society can have a misconstrued narrative about his own culture, what do you think another group would have about yours?
That's good.
And the only way to smash it is to have a fellowship with them, to meet with them, to see we're human, to see we cry. We worry about our kids' future. We have to worry about what we're going to put on the dinner table. We worried about Johnny not doing well in English. We have the same issues that any other family in America has. But because we don't have fellowship, how would they know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yo, man, I gotta bring you on my show to chop it up with the people, man. Get you in some light.
Can you send me an invite either on Facebook?
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll friend you now. Let's see. Yeah, this was good, man. You got some good information. We stumbled into a good discussion, man.
Yeah, we got off to a wrong foot. I misunderstood you, dude. I did not.
It's all good, bro.
Now. I didn't hear you say now. I thought you.
No, it's all good, man.
Because you know what got me hot about that was I like Stephen A, but he said something during that time that I was like really against him when he said that Kaepernick didn't really want to play, that was a phony tryout. I took issue with that because I really felt like Cap really wanted to try out.
Yeah.
Now he may have made some demands. I don't know that man's, his contract talks. He could have made like unreasonable demands, but I did see a man that I felt like was backed in a corner, and he was trying to like stay like the picture of calmness. But I think there was a lot of turmoil on the inside of Cap.
I definitely think that I wanted Cap. Like I wanted Cap to come back, man. I wanted him to come back so bad.
I know,
but
you did.
I realized like at one point it made no sense for him to come back. It honestly did. It made no sense for him to come back. When you can make more money not playing than you can playing,
why would you?
Why would you come back?
Yeah, and risk injury.
Why would you do that? Like to prove to them that you can play? And I also said, like, if I'm Cap, I'm okay. Y'all wanna blacklist me? Watch what I do. I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna dominate every other football league there is, and I'm gonna make a post every time I do. Oh, I scored. Oh, I put up 500 yards today. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, I put up 600 yards today. I put up 400 yards today. Oh, NFL's now, but now I can look back and say, look, I want to play football. It's y'all. He gave the NFL too many excuses. He gave them too many. He gave them he doesn't really want to play. He gave them that he's too difficult to deal with. Why? Because we heard Colin Kaepernick's voice maybe once in the last 3 years. His voice. Like
I begrudgingly have to agree with you.
He's too big of a character. He's like Colin Kaepernick. Could you imagine if Muhammad Ali? That's another thing. By not speaking, he made himself too easy to forget.
You're right. When I look at it that from that viewpoint,
he made himself too easy. Like I can ignore you if you're just gonna be quiet. Oh, cool.
Why do you think, Juwan? Why do you think that is? I'm really interested. Why do you think Cap? Because he seems so conscious. So that makes me. Do you think he's as real as he says he is? And
I
if
think
he
Cap.
is, why did he?
I'm sorry.
Why was he silent? Why was he silent? I've always wondered that too.
I think he was subject to bad advice. I honestly do. I think. So I look at the example of Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali, you know, when he converted to the nation, and he started being advised by, you know, Elijah Muhammad and his carriers, his handlers. It's well documented that Muhammad Ali was really mishandled in a lot of ways.
Yes, he was.
And it cost him a lot. And if you go back and you watch like the movie and stuff, and I'm pretty sure the movie is pretty true to his life because it came out while he was still alive. Like they abandoned him. Like when it got bad, they abandoned him. And then when he came back to it and he had it again, they came back. So like it I find that to be the same case with Colin Kaepernick. I think that I believe that he really loves Nessa, and he believes that Nessa wants what's best for him. I believe that even when people talk about Colin Kaepernick's story, they say when Nessa came into his life is when everything started shifting. When he started going from, you know, a guy who just played football and before he started growing his hair and stuff. And I even when he started growing his hair, like I was with it. You know, even in a terrible season, I was like, yo, we gotta keep Cap. We got to keep him around. He's good for the team. That year that he opted out of his contract, he was unanimously voted the team leader. Like he was unanimously voted for the leader of the team award. Like everybody in the locker room loved him. You won't have one teammate that talks negatively about Colin Kaepernick. He made himself. He listened to bad advice, and he made himself too easy to move on from. That's my only criticism of Colin Kaepernick. I wish that wasn't the case because I am a Cap fan. Like I am a Cap fan. 3 of my kids own Colin Kaepernick jerseys.
How many kids you got? How many kids
5.
you got?
We have 5.
Oh man.
Yeah, we have 5. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, man. Shoot, we got a 19-year-old. My 18-year-olds headed to Clemson next year. We have a 16-year-old and 2 12-year-olds, the twins.
Congratulations, man. So you
God is good, man.
Oh, definitely, man. We have to hook up, man, so that we can keep this connection going. For sure, man.
For sure, man. I just friended you on Facebook, man. Friend me back. Watch a couple episodes of the show. Tell me what you think. I love to get your insight.
Yeah, when you gonna be back on, man? That we can
chop it up. I'm on every Wednesday night. I'm on every Wednesday night, but everything's queued up. So I mean, I have 170 something episodes of stuff. So if you got a topic, I probably talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Wednesday nights I do my local celebrity spotlight. I'm in grad school now, so I can't do as many episodes as I normally would do. I've actually been really active this last couple of weeks because of the election. So a lot of like local politicians are trying to come on my show so they can promote what they're doing in their campaigns and stuff. And then with the protests, I've interviewed a lot of people who are involved in the protests, and I had Monday night I actually did a call-in segment where people, like, it was literally 3 hours of people just calling in and giving their feelings about the protests and about the George Floyd situation and everything. So check it out, man. It's some pretty dope stuff. I'll be back on live. Actually, I just got a text from a guy who wants me to do a show Sunday night so he can come on because he's running for county council. And he wants to get an opportunity to use the audience as well. So
I definitely need to talk to you because I would like to know how you got started, like the equipment that you use, and how I can like try to do something where I think we just lack information.
Yep,
we don't.
That's easy.
We need to. I want the information to get out there because I feel like I've created a pretty good reputation here in Florence. I work at a charter school, so I have a lot of people who want to see change and people who don't look like me.
Yep.
That's key. People who don't look like me. And I'd like to get this information out to people because ultimately, Juwan, I mean, I love being Black. We all love it. But ultimately, I choose human first. Yeah. Because I'm a human first and then I'm Black.
Yeah.
And that's the whole moniker behind my my hashtag Team Us.
Yeah.
It's not Team US, it's Team Us, meaning that if we don't change things on this planet, who the hell else is? It's just us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man, I'd love to chop it up.
All right. It was
Yeah, I
good
love
meeting
that, man.
you, Juan, man.
Hey, we stay in touch, man. I got your Facebook info. Accept my request, and then
Right.
we'll build from there. And yeah, we probably like next week or the week after. I got to finish this class. Once I finish this class, my life will be so much better.
I
But
know it is. I've been there, dude.
Yeah.
I've done 2 master's courses, and I don't want
Yeah.
to do it no more.
Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, like next week or the week after, yo, let's link, and I can definitely walk you through my process and how I got started here, and even my equipment and all that stuff. It's like you said, information's free, so let's do it.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that, Juwan.
All right, man. Nice meeting you, bro.
And nice to meet you too, man. One love, man.
All right, man. God bless you.